So, as most of you guys know already, basically, we do have like some sad news that Adam Wingard will not be directing the next Godzilla film. And while I'm not spouting doom and gloom just yet, I will say that it does suck because I think even he wanted to finish the trilogy, but let's be real, that simply was not going to happen anytime soon. So, we're not here to talk about that, though. Everyone and their mother has said that. All I'm going to say is it sucks, but I'm not spouting doom and gloom yet. It depends on more of the director and if the studio is going to be overbearing on them. Like, it all depends on that. This video, however, is me pitching an idea for the next Monsterverse movie. And since the Monsterverse has gone full off the rails, I decided let's do something in the vein of that, but also have a little fun, but also have it in a different direction as well. So, this is my pitch for the next film in the Monsterverse. So this movie focuses squarely on Godzilla. Kong is in Hollow Earth with Shimo and Suko and the Great Apes. Basically, he's down there. He's not involved in this film. This is all surface level. Which I know realistically they'll have Godzilla and Kong together again. I just kind of want it to be a Godzilla-centric film. It's not like, real quick, it didn't bother me that we had that Godzilla x Kong was more Kong than Godzilla, because Godzilla just had -1, won an Oscar over it, so I was fine with Kong taking more of the spotlight. But for this film, this is solely focused on that film. You can, I would have, mentions of, Kong has been in, Hollow Earth and living peacefully with the other apes, but now we're dealing with Godzilla. So, this film would have a totally new cast, starting with the return of a new character, or should I say an old character. We're bringing in Steve Martin, the Monsterverse version of Steve Martin, who we do know exists in this universe because of King of the Monsters little mid-credit, during the mid-credits, there was a blurb written by a Stephen Martin. So so in here, this version of Steve Martin would be a reporter, but he's not like a he's not like some he's not like a Bernie ripoff. He's not like Brian Tyree Hill's Bernie. He's more this version of him would be more like Frank West from Dead Rising, where he's been in wars, he's been a combat reporter, and now and also he's kind of like Vice News, very hands-on. He does a lot of he does stuff he will do anything to get the story, and even if it means almost getting himself killed or getting in trouble with certain authorities. So that's this version of Steve Martin. He's a little, I wouldn't say he's younger, he's more, I would say I kind of imagine this version of Steve Martin as John Hamm. He basically is this this version of Steve Martin. He talks about being a combat reporter, being caught in combat situations. But then when Godzilla and the other Titans started to appear, he basically moved to that, learning about getting stories on Monarch and everything, and what even okay, I'm getting tripped up. Sorry, let me back up a bit. Basically, Martin, I would have in here, he's kind of on the outs with a lot of people, because when Godzilla first appeared, Martin was one of the first people to really probe into Monarch, and that got him into a lot of trouble. And then years later, when Monarch, broke more of the news, he's still on the, he wrote stories about all this stuff, and was almost lost his career over breaking the news over Monarch. And he's a little bitter towards Monarch because of what they did to his career way back in 2014. He's still writing blogs and whatnot, but his career is kind of damaged now. So he's a little resentful towards Monarch and he does follow a lot of the monsters for a different, news group, because the old one, Monarch, basically forced them to shit can him. So now he's working for a much smaller group, and Martin himself has been, his career's been tarnished a bit. So in here, Martin has been following the Titans. Specifically, he's been following Godzilla. And keep in mind, Godzilla is still, like, in his evolved form. He's still super powerful. But now we're seeing, like, Martin has been following Godzilla, and he's been writing a lot of messages, a lot of, like, anti-Monarch stuff. And he does admit, yeah, I'm a little bitter about it because of what they did to me. But, like, no one these guys got away with a lot of shit, so we gotta make them held accountable. But he does, like, write a lot of notes about, like, how these monsters have been affecting the planet. But also, like, throughout his research, he does, like, when he's doing another story about Godzilla, he kind of notices that there's something weird going on within Monarch. There's something weird, like, some of the members are, like, allocating certain resources to other groups. Like, he's like, doing investigative research by, like, breaking into places and, getting footage of certain facilities. And basically, he's kind of stumbled upon this internal conspiracy within Monarch. And he basically has discovered, like, there's a organization even within Monarch that is an organization that has infiltrated Monarch probably from the beginning, and has been allocating resources to other things. They've been allocating resources to other projects, and one specifically is, like, they've been sending out random dig sites. It's like they say it's, like, for other basically for collecting, DNA from Titans. And in one way, it's true. And so Martin has essentially, like, stumbled onto this and has now been now he's getting targeted by Monarch. And at the same time, he's also like, which Monarch am I dealing with? The real Monarch or the Shadow Monarch? Meanwhile, Godzilla has become enraged again. Like, basically, Godzilla has gone on another shit-wrecking rampage, where we haven't seen this since 2021. And the last time this happened, it was because of the creation of Mechagodzilla. However, with Godzilla's new powerful form, with his new evolved form, Godzilla is clearly now becoming more of a more uncontrollable threat. Like, before, he was unstoppable, but now he's even more godlike. Like, there's no military force that can stop him. The other Titans are even scared of Godzilla. Sorry about that. So, like I said, Godzilla has now evolved to a point where he has moved above the other Titans. He's now, like, even, before, he could actually interact with the other Titans because he was the alpha, but now that he's evolved to a point where he's gotten to such a high level that that he can't even communicate. It's kind of like that story of the blue whale that had, like, it was on a different frequency than the others and was lonely. It's kind of like that now, where Godzilla is now even more distant from the other monsters. Not only that, like, Godzilla, now that he's a lot of what happened in New Empire, where Godzilla was attacking military outposts and power plants and absorbing the energy from it. Yeah, that shit stayed. So now the U.S. government and the United Nations on a whole are even more adamant of killing Godzilla, because now they're like, what if he does it again? Like, what if, like, yeah, and some members of Monarch, like, no, he did it to stop the Scar King. He became that powerful to become the Scar King. He's like, yeah, but what if he does it because he doesn't want us around anymore? Like, what if he turns on us? He was powerful before, but now he's reached a whole other level. We can't stop him. So that's the Godzilla plot, is that Godzilla has now, like, become the most isolated thing on the planet, where he is, he's kind of alone. And so getting back to Martin basically discovers that there is a conspiracy going on. Would he go to Bernie? Actually not. I'd love to have a scene where Martin tries to get in touch with Bernie, and Bernie's just like, kind of fucking weird. Nah, this isn't an actual nah. This is you're crazy. Because what he discovers, what Martin discovers is that there are aliens that have infiltrated Monarch. Not only that, they've infiltrated other points of government. Yeah, this is the introduction of the Monsterverse version of the aliens from Hunter M. Nebula, the Simians. So it's basically Secret Invasion done better. So in here, the Simians have been on Earth, and have actually they've been on Earth for a while, but not too long. They've only been around since Godzilla returned. So they've been around 2014, and for years they've been infiltrating different forms of government, and especially Monarch, because Monarch has the resources they need. Now, it actually is kind of a point to say that they helped orchestrate the whole thing of getting Charles Dance's character and Vera Farmiga's character, I can't remember their names, but getting them together so they could unleash Ghidorah. They were hoping Ghidorah would kill Godzilla and use him, because initially Ghidorah was their monster. Ghidorah was their first attack on the planet. So they wanted to work from the shadows, but after that, they decided to do a little hands-on approach. Because now what they've been reallocating resources, I should say. Excuse me. They've been I'm just not even going to try to say the word anymore. Basically putting resources secretly, all this dark money and resources, into resurrecting Ghidorah. So now we have Monsterverse version Mecha Ghidorah. But not only that, they also have a second monster in their back pocket. And that other new monster is Gigan. So now in this film, Godzilla is alone, and it's a 2-on-1 fight. So Godzilla has to battle Mecha Ghidorah and Gigan by himself. And you may be thinking, well, that's dumb. He has to go 2v1 against two very powerful monsters. Yeah, but that's the first round, because there will be there would be another Toho monster in here to help it. Well, two other Toho monsters to help him. One that we've already seen, Rodan. And Rodan, at first, I wanted to have it at first Rodan, because he's kind of like Starscream in here. Rodan is just kind of oh, you're the alpha, so I'll help. But then Rodan, after Godzilla gets his ass kicked by Mecha Ghidorah and Gigan, he's just oh, well, sucks to suck, and leaves. And then, later on, we discover that Godzilla another Titan has been making the rounds, and recently appeared off the coast of, Australia. And that monster is Anguirus. So, Anguirus is our second monster and would be Godzilla's ally against Mecha Ghidorah and Gigan. I would also have Mothra here, and maybe have Rodan come back, but everyone's just you motherfucker, you opportunistic little bitch. So there you go. That would be that's my Monsterverse pitch, because we've already introduced, we're already going Showa era, and we already have the existence of aliens with Ghidorah. So yeah, while I'm also a proponent to more original villains, this kind of story was this does kind of require, monsters. And yes, this is kind of like a pseudo remake of Godzilla vs. Gigan. But hey, I like that movie, so there you go. So there you go, guys. That is my pitch for a Monsterverse movie. You guys tell me in the comments below, what would your pitch be for a Monsterverse movie? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.